welcome back all of you in online classes, class 8 science class. Today we are going to start chapter 8 cell structure and functions. You have already learned that things around us are either living or non-living. Further, you may recall that all living organisms carry out certain basic functions. Can you list these functions? Different sets of organs perform the various functions you have listed in this chapter. You shall learn about the basic structural unit of an organ, which is the cell. Cells may be compared to bricks. Bricks are assembled to make a building. Similarly, cells are assembled to make the body of every organism. So students, in this chapter we are going to learn about the cell, that is called structural and functional unit of living organism. There are millions of different things around us in the world. Some of them are living and some are not. Plants, insects, frogs, human beings, etc. are living things, while sand, soil, air, water, chair, etc. are non-living things. Living things exist along with non-living things on the earth. Living things carry out certain basic functions like respiration, digestion, excretion, reproduction, movement and growth. Non-living object may perform one or more of these processes, like vehicles can move, but it is only a living thing that performs all the above functions. All animals and plants are living. All these organisms look different from each other. However, all of them are made up of microscopic unit called cells. So in this chapter we will study the cell, its part and the function of various parts of a cell. So first we will study about the discovery and history of the cell. Robert Hooke in 1665 observed slices of cork under a simple magnifying device. Cork is a part of the bark of a tree. He took thin slices of cork and observed them under a microscope. He noticed partition boxes or compartment in the cork slice, as you can see in the figure 8.1. So students, one English scientist, Robert Hooke, discovered the cell in 1665 and he observed slice of cork under his self-designed microscope. Cork is a part of the bark of a tree. He took thin slice of a cork and observed them under the microscope, and he noticed a large number of compartments in the cork slice resembling the structure of a honeycomb. As you can observe in figure 8.1, the cork cell is resembling as a honeycomb. So Robert Hooke coined the term cell for each box, and in Latin, which means little room. So students, the meaning of the cell is a little room. Robert Hooke had actually seen the dead walls of the plant cell. These cells had lost their living content and looked like little rooms. However, even 150 years after Hooke's discovery, very little was known about the cell until improved microscopes with high magnification were made. So students, these boxes appeared like a honeycomb, and he also noticed that one box was separated from the other by a wall or a partition. Hooke coined the term cell for each box, and what Hooke observed as boxes or cells in the cork were actually dead cells. So cells of living organism could be observed only after the discovery of improved microscope. Very little was known about the cell for the next 150 years after the Robert Hooke's observation. Today we know a lot about a cell structure and its function because of the improved microscoping having high magnification. So what is the cell? Cells are microscopic in structure and cannot be seen by naked eye, and the structure and function of cell is observed because of the improved microscope having high magnification, and that is known the compound microscope is commonly used in the science laboratory to observe tiny objects. It uses the glass lenses and visible light for observation. So students, now electron microscope is also there, that is having very large instrument that help in observing the various internal parts, that is known as the organelles of the cell. So now we come to know about the different parts of the cell because of the discovery of compound microscope or electron microscope. Both bricks and bricks in a building and the cells in the living organism are basic structural unit. The building, though built of similar bricks, have different design, shape and sizes. Similarly, in the living world, organisms differ from one another, but all are made up of cells. Cells are in living organism are complex living structure unlike non-living bricks. The egg of a hen represents a single cell and is big enough to be seen by unaided eyes. So students, the cell is the basic structural unit of living organism. As the building is built of a similar bricks that is having different design, shape and sizes. So similarly, in the living world, organism is different from one another, but all are made up of cell, and cell in the living organism are complex living structure unlike non-living bricks. As you can see in the figure 8.2, brick wall, and you can observe that brick is the structural unit of this brick wall. Same way you can observe in the onion peel, the different many cells are present and that forming the slices of onion peel. So students, we can say that organism made up of many cells are called multicellular organism, and organism that is made up of a single cell, or we can say only one cell, that is known as a unicellular organism. So students, now we will come to know that on the basis of the number of cells that is present in the living organism, living organisms are classified into two categories. These are unicellular organism and multicellular organism. So now we will study about the organisms show variety in cell number, shape and size. So living organisms are made up of one or many cells. Organism made up of single cell are called unicellular organism, like amoeba, paramecium, bacteria, yeast are few example of unicellular organism. And the single cell of this organism behave like a complete organism, and all the basic function of a living being like digestion, respiration, excretion, reproduction are performed by a single cell. For example, amoeba, as you can see in the figure 8.3, amoeba is a unicellular organism. It perform all the function like taking food, that is ingestion, digestion, respiration, movement, growth and reproduction. And organism that is made up of many cells are called multicellular organism. Most of the plant, animals that we see around us are multicellular organism. Trees, grasses, insects, cow, birds, humans are few example of multicellular organism, and all multicellular organism begin their life as a single cell called the fertilized egg cell, that is zygote, and the fertilized egg multiplies and number of cells increases as the development of organism proceed. All multicellular organism including human beings including human beings, show division of labor. It means that different parts of multicellular organism perform different function. For example, human body has stomach to digest food, heart to pump blood, bones and muscles to perform movement, and so on. So we can say that in all multicellular organism, including human beings, show the division of labor. That means their different parts are performing the different function. Shape of cell. Refer to figure 8.3. How do you define the shape of amoeba in the figure? You may say that the shape appear irregular. In fact, amoeba has no definite shape. Unlike other organisms, it keeps on changing its shape. Observe the projection of varying length protruding out of its body. These are called pseudopodia. Pseudo means false and podia means feet. As you learned in class 7, these projections appear and disappear as amoeba moves or feed. So students, amoeba is having the irregular shape. It can change their shape, and because of this property, it can perform many functions like intake of food and movement. The change in shape is due to formation of pseudopodia, which facilitate movement and help in capturing food. A white blood cell, WBC, in human blood is another example of a single cell which can change its shape. But while WBC is a cell, amoeba is a full-fledged organism capable of independent existence. What shape would you expect in organism with millions of cells? Figure 8.4 ABC show different cells. So students, you can see that cells show a great variation in their shapes, such as spherical, eggs of many animal, spindle shaped like smooth muscle fiber, elongated, for example nerve cell, branched, and so on. So some cells may not have definite shape, they have changing their shape, for example amoeba and white blood cell in human blood. The shape of cell helps in its functioning. For example, a nerve cell is very long and has a wire-like projection coming out of it. These projections help the nerve cell carry messages and send them to all the parts of the body. Muscle cell expand or contract. Their long, thin shape helps them do this. All the cell components are enclosed in a membrane which provides shape to every plant and animal cell. So this is all about the cell shape. So we can say that cells show a great variation in their shapes. As you can see in the figure 8.4, spherical red blood cells of human, spindle shaped muscle cells, long branch nerve cell. So this is all about the shape of the cell. Now size of a cell. The size of cell in living organism may be as small as a millionth of a meter, that is micrometer or micron, or may be as large as a few centimeters. However, most of the cells are microscopic in size and are not visible to the unaided eye. They need to be enlarged or magnified by the microscope. The smallest cells is 0.1 to 0.5 micrometer in bacteria, and the largest cell measuring 170 millimeter into 130 millimeter is the egg of an ostrich. So students, the cell and their organelles are measured by fraction of a millimeter, that is 1/1000th of millimeter is called micron or micrometer. Most of the cells are microscopic in the size and are not visible to the naked eyes. They need to be enlarged or magnified by the microscope to see, and the size of the cell varies from very small cell of bacteria to the very large eggs of the ostrich. And in our body, red blood cells are the smallest and the nerve cell are the longest cell. The size of the cell has no relation with the body size of the organism. The cells of very big animal, for example elephant, is not bigger than the cell of a small animal like rat. The size of a cell is related to its function. For example, the nerve cell of both rat and elephant are long and branched, which perform the same function of transmitting messages. So students, there is no relation with the size of the body of the animal or a plant. It is not necessary that the cells in the elephant be much bigger than those in the rat. So the size of the cell is related to the function. For example, nerve cell both in elephant and rat are long and branched and they perform the same function, that is transferring messages. So students, this is all about the shape and size of the cell, and in this video we will study these topics. So students, we will continue this chapter in our next video. Thank you everyone for keep watching this video.